Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cornerstone Qonversations, where I am your host, Damaris Aguayu, and I'll be speaking with Tazim Elkington, a hypnotherapist, talk therapist, and regression therapist. Hi, Tazim.
Hi, Damaris, and I'm going to add to that, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I'm also an authentic 21st century leadership trainer, a public speaker, a writer, and a poet. Thank you.
Awesome. And everything in between.
You know, all the shades.
Yeah. Okay, so this week we're talking about judgments. This is a spillover from a conversation we had last week. And so the topic is judgments. What are judgments, Tazim?
So judgments are conclusions that a person makes from a limited understanding of their own mind.
A limited understanding of their own mind. Yeah.
Yes, because a person's mind is limited to their own understanding, and their own understanding and their experiences causes and creates the judgments a person makes. So it's based on, as an example, if a person was brought up being told that they must only speak to their tribe or their race, and that's how they've grown up, then their judgment is that other races, other tribes are not good enough, not equal, not whatever, as an example.
Okay, so then why does the word judgment make people cringe?
Because the actual word judgment with a capital J comes from our justice system and from our courts.
Yeah.
Okay. So judgment is always something that makes people, ooh, am I going to win or am I going to lose?
Right.
So
yes.
We don't realize that, we've really got this word judgment in our head in so many different shades, as we started off with earlier. But that shade of legality is the one that makes people cringe. That's one point. The other point is also that the holy books say that we must not judge. So it's considered a sin to judge. And so I'm going to expound on that a little bit. The point is that judgments are not bad, because we've made judgment such a word that makes someone feel dirty if they make a judgment. Okay, so it's not dirty. Let's clarify this, because it's really got a bad name. Judgment has got really bad name, and there's a plus side to judgment. And the plus side to judgment is, for example, our judgments come from what we know, what we've experienced, and what we feel. Okay, it's our own story here. And if we didn't have that story, and we didn't, we weren't perceptive of, let me bring an example. Let me give you an example of, okay, let's give an example of a person that you know of, and you know that this person has stolen, for example. Okay, you know enough to know that what you know is real. Okay, now if you don't hold that judgment, and that person comes to you and asks you for money or asks you to give him something valuable, and you don't use your judgment at that point and just give him what he's asking for, it's not going to be very smart, is it?
No, it's not.
So we've got to use a balance of what judgments are, how to use them for our good. The kind of judgments that people go on about are the judgments that are generally, how would I put this? They don't come from a good place. They come from a place of gossip and making other people small. And those are the judgments we need to be aware of that are not healthy. So there are some judgments that are actually healthy. And then there are these judgments, because you need to know how to operate in life. And to know how to operate in life, you've got to depend on some of your judgments, right? Mm. So these other judgments are judgments that we make of other people based on gossip, based on maligning them, based on creating stories and drama. Those are the judgments that are not good for us or for people around us. And those judgments come from generally a lot of this. So those judgments are not healthy because they're just a waste of time.
Yeah.
But our mind is made in such a way that we will judge based on what we have experienced in our past. Good, bad, and ugly. We need to question those judgments, of course, as we get older and as time passes. But we can't just shut down this whole judgment thing when without judgments, we'd be walking around like blind posts.
Yeah. So that's, how is it then that many of us, and I think this is where the genesis of this conversation came from, many of us go through life fearing those judgments, fearing being judged, and not, not doing certain things because of fear of judgment. How do we overcome that?
Okay, so first of all, fear of judgment puts two minuses in one sentence. So can you imagine? It's so big that not only are we afraid of judgments, but we are afraid and have a fear of those judgments. And where does that come from? That comes from the time we were children. Unfortunately, I mean, everything boils down to our upbringing, our environment, our family, our race, our tribe, our religion. It all always boils down to our past and our how we grew up. And what we don't realize is between the ages of 0 and 8 is when a child creates their most deepest beliefs. Okay, and those are created when children are so small and they're listening to their parents telling them and elders telling them how things ought to be, all right? Based on the parents and the environment's own experiences and the grandparents and the great-grandparents, all right? And those are passed down to us. So since we were children, we were told, don't do this because people will talk. Don't go out and misbehave because it'll be a problem with our family reputation. Don't behave like that. Don't laugh too loud. Don't talk to boys if you're a girl. If you're boys, maybe don't talk to girls. And all that stuff since we were little. We've been hearing it like a drill in the background constantly. And through that, what we learned to do is to make ourselves very, very small. We were already small, but we made ourselves smaller. And we believed that when people say anything about us, it should only be good stuff, which is ludicrous. It is completely ludicrous. If anyone is sitting there waiting for someone, waiting for all of the people to say only nice things to them, they need to go for a mental check. Because it's not possible. You can't get all of the people to like you all of the time. Or some of the people to like you all of the time, or some of the people to like you some of the time. The reality is people will only show you what they want to show you. And most people don't even have the courage to tell you to your face, okay, hey, come on, what was that about? Or why did that need to be the way you've just done it? So people don't have honest conversations. So what they're generally doing is they've created a whole idea about society out there and about people out there. And people are constantly second guessing what other people are thinking about them, which again is ridiculous. So that's one point. The second thing is, what does it matter what anybody thinks about you? What does it matter? If I just put it very simply, whether someone likes you, whether someone doesn't, whether someone thinks you're an ass, or someone thinks you're brilliant, or someone thinks that you're a liar, or somebody thinks that you're too much, or someone thinks whatever, what does it matter? How does that change one's life?
Yeah, good question.
Are they paying your bills? Are they putting food on your table? Are they working for you? Are they changing your life? The only people that I would really care about what they have to say are the people I know who really love me and who care for me. And if they came out with a comment, or they came back with some feedback or some constructive feedback, because this whole criticism thing is nonsense also. If they came back and said something to me, I would actually consider it, because I know that they care for me and that what they're suggesting or saying is only to add value to my life. So that I would pay attention to. But all these phantom people's minds and thoughts that everybody's second guessing, first of all, doesn't exist, for one thing, because people's minds are too full. Half the time people don't have the time to even pay attention to what your life is about, because they're so busy and entangled in their own. And then secondly, we've created this whole thing about the phantom society as well. But seriously, the question here is, what does it matter what people think about you? Why is it such a concern?
Yeah, but it does. For many people, it does. I don't actually know why, but apparently it does matter to a lot of people how they're
because it's part of the belief system. It's part of the belief system. They've been told for years and years and years that they have to be concerned with what other people think about them, so that they never learn to live their own lives the way they would like to.
Yeah.
Do you care what people think about you?
To an extent, yes.
So give me an example.
Okay, let's say, for instance, these video podcasts, before we started them, I was always worried about how they would be perceived in the general public. Are they good enough? Are they interesting? So I felt like there's this thing that we had talked about doing, but then that's on the one hand. On the other hand, I was like, but will it be good? How will people take it? That kind of thing. And that's not about the people who are close to me or my family, but just general people watching this stuff. It matters to an extent.
So let's, you okay to do this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just break it down a little. So let's look, I know you some, all right? Yeah. Because we've known each other for a couple of years now, okay? So I know that one of your thing is to be this high achiever. You're an A-type, okay? You want to get it right all the time, and you have the perfectionist syndrome.
No, really?
Of course you do. Oh, haven't I told you this before?
Maybe we shouldn't do this. No.
It's okay. I think it'll be really great for the viewers, because I'm not going to go much into it. Yeah. It's just as an example. Okay, so what's the perfectionist syndrome? That, you're always pushing yourself to achieve beyond a limit, a certain limit, beyond. You always want it to be all in your mind perfect, okay? And this comes from the time you were a little kid, where, you know, everything had to be in a certain way, and you trained yourself, or whether it was your mother who told you it had to be in a certain way, or your father, and how everything had to be proper. And the perfectionist syndrome, you know, I talk to people about this when they come to see me, is about wanting to achieve the best. So sometimes I say to them, just stop and ask yourself, the best based on what measurement? Because there isn't.
It's on my own standards. Yeah.
But how can you have a measurement when you've never done something before?
True. Fair point. Yeah.
Okay. So you see, it's very simple. I wasn't going to start. Yeah, I was just going to bring a very simple point to the surface, that anyone with the perfectionist syndrome must question, what measure are you using and whose measure are you using? Because ultimately, perfection has no measure. So rather than push yourself right up against the wall constantly, let loose and give yourself a break, because this is an old belief in your mind, right? And based on that belief, you see, you gave yourself angst for nothing and wound yourself up when it's something completely new, and it's something we had no idea about. And even if we had 0 views, it would be okay. And then the next time there'll be 1 view, and then the third time there'll be 5 views. For me, I don't care about these things. If you remember when you used to come to the open corner, some days I would have 30 in the room, and some days I would have 5 in the room. And it didn't matter, because all that mattered was that for that particular moment, that day, and whatever topic got picked, those were the people that were supposed to be there, and that was the interaction we were supposed to have. So ease off on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm learning to, trust me. Yeah.
Because remember, you have young children.
Yeah.
And those young children already, I'm sure the bigger one is not too far off from where you are.
Yeah.
And it's just the way children pick things. Children don't pick things generally by what they're told. They pick things by observing. So we don't want to pass these kind of things over. We don't want to impose these kind of behavior on them, only because they will have a harder time then loosening up as they get older.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, don't be so serious. It's okay.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's get back. Actually, we're still on topic, huh? I like you talked about the phantom society. So what exactly does phantom society mean? Can you just define that?
So first of all, what is society?
Society is your...
what is society? Let's put this back on you. What's society?
Society are the people that live in this world. Society is made up of people, and it is their beliefs, their culture. Yeah, that just, yeah. I don't know. I haven't thought about this, Tazim. Society.
Good. Fantastic. That's such a great answer, Dama. Because actually, this word society is phantom in itself. When we talk about society will think, society says, which society are we talking about? Which society? How many billion people are there in the world? How many million people are there in Kenya? They need 50 million people here. Okay. How many people in Nairobi? 7 million people. 7 million people out of 7. Okay, let's take it to how many people you know and who is your society? Who is your society? For me, I don't have a society. I don't have a society because society in itself is a phantom word. And we have created this phantom society because this is what we grew up with. And this phantom society will think this of you, will judge you like this. Who? So when people bring up, you know, what will society think, or how does society behave like this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you, what is society to you? It's actually now becoming a decadent word, out of date, because it actually doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
For me, it doesn't exist.
What about the people outside of your family and friends who?
They're people.
Yeah.
They're people.
And what's the collective term for them?
Group of people. Group of people based on different dimensions of how they live. So there's a group of people who are musicians, and there's a group of people who are artists, and there's a group of people who love travel, and there's a group of people who love hiking. So, you know, it's for me, this word society is vague, and it doesn't add value anymore.
Okay, so is it possible not to judge? Because I think we all, and I like that you said that judgment is both a good and a bad thing, yeah? So we all judge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And is it possible to not judge in the negative way?
So the thing is, because our mind, our mind is based on memory and associative memory. As soon as we see even a total stranger, I know I do this, I know everybody does this. You see a total stranger and immediately you're looking at something about them and you're thinking something about them. You have no clue about this person. You have nothing to do with this person, but a thought will go through your mind. Mm-hmm. The point is, let that thought come and go. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to break it down. You don't need to go and find out about it, because thoughts are like random clouds. They come and they go. What people do, now let's take it to something more personal. Let's say you have a friend who is constantly complaining. All right, I'm sure you have those.
Yeah.
Somebody who calls and will go on and on and on. Now, you have already sussed that this person, every time they call, they're going to complain and complain and complain. Now, is that a judgment?
Yeah.
That's not a judgment. That's a fact.
Yeah.
So people are also a bit mixed up about what judgments are. So let's rectify that understanding. It's a fact that when she calls you, she's just moaning and groaning and venting and complaining. Now, you've had 5 calls like this, and now you've made a decision that you don't want to hear this anymore. So are you wrong or right? And I don't do wrong or right. Let me rephrase that. Is it okay for you that you've just about had enough of her moaning and groaning, and that it's about the same topic, and it's time that she finds a solution? Is it okay for you to say that?
Yeah.
Do you think it's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then if she doesn't like you after that and she never calls you again, is that a problem?
It shouldn't be.
So judgments don't stand on their own. Judgments are related to boundaries. Judgments are related to reality. Judgment is related to perception. Judgment is related to another person's limited way of looking at it. Okay. So what is a judgment? A judgment is when you make, I think the judgments that we really need to define that are unhealthy are the judgments when we put people down to make ourselves feel better. Those are the judgments that we must really now question. So for example, you have a friend who loves to dress up and loves to, buy expensive clothes and loves to buy expensive accessories, etc. Good for her, right? She can afford it. But if that same friend then comes to me, let me put it on me. If that friend of mine loves to dress up, spend money on all of this stuff, and then she calls me and says, "Oh, Taz, I'm so broke. Can you lend me some money?" You know what I'm going to tell her and where to go.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that doesn't make sense. But if she loves to dress up and I feel jealous about that, or I feel envious about that, then who's got the problem? I've got the problem. So I think we've got to be clear that judgments are not just one narrow line or one narrow lane. It's quite a broad aspect. And we bring it down to this narrow thing about it being a sin, about it being, if you judge, you're going to be judged, and all the fear around it. And we need to get over it because it's so heavy then.
Yeah.
So how do we not judge? We need to make sure we don't measure everything based on right and wrong. Because that right and wrong is based on our personal experience. And that's how we can stop judging. So if I say to someone, "That's wrong, you mustn't do that," that means that I'm judging that person based on my limitation. When I can turn around and just observe it and say, "Okay, that's how you want to do it," unless the person asks me, "Tazim, do you have any suggestions?" But otherwise, we need to learn to stop making things right, wrong, good, bad, appropriate, not appropriate, based on our a very limited mind's experience. And when we can do that, then we can stop judging.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm known for is being vocal. And I'm vocal when I don't like something, and I'm vocal when I love something and I like something. It doesn't matter what range it is, I say what I feel, all right? And people have said, "But did you really need to say that?" And I said, yes, I needed to say that because it was in my sphere, it was in my realm, and it was in my reality, and it was impacting me, so I needed to say it. And so you upset so and so, and I said, and if they got upset for something that I am feeling, then they need to deal with that. But it was not something that I was going to accept. So when we can start being honest, because most people are so dishonest that it gets on my nerves, all right? Most people are so glossy and sugarcoating and exaggerating and wanting to impress everyone so that they have the right judgments towards them, that they're dishonest. Well, we can start being honest and have integrity. Judgments is not even a discussion.
Yeah. I think that that sentence sums it up. When we can start being honest and have integrity, judgments stop being an issue. Yeah, because it's all about, yeah, it is. It's true. It's all about feeling validated because maybe you don't feel that you're good enough. But if you're honest with yourself, then you wouldn't have to feel that. Okay. Any closing remarks from you on this topic?
We've got to keep in mind that we are human beings with a duality. And the duality is that we're constantly separating things as white and black. And most times we miss the gray shades in the middle. It was wonderful how you asked me the question as we started, right? About all this stuff in the middle as well. So based on the fact that we are beings that are transmuting and transforming from our duality into more light. Okay, this is the whole part about moving from 3D to 5D now. You know, our planet is changing, our world is changing, human beings are changing, everything is changing. And so being mindful that because we are human beings with duality, one of the dualities is this right and wrong, good and bad, and all of that stuff. When we can overcome that and stop using even that language, because some of this language is so old now, we actually need to look for new words, all right? And we stop falling into that duality, because this is the duality, and have a little bit more acceptance and patience with ourselves, but do the work. Do the work on yourself. Examine and identify all these biases, prejudices, judgments, duality that duality creates, and start working on that at an inner level, because the world is not going to be the same. And each of us has the responsibility to change. And we can only change by changing inside. When we change inside, we change our frequency. That frequency now affects everyone around us, even by keeping quiet, simply by keeping silent. If you're raising your level of awareness and consciousness, you're impacting a whole radius around you. You're impacting everyone you interact with. So it is our responsibility to start raising our level of awareness and consciousness. We cannot behave the same way we were behaving in the 20th century, in the 21st century, and expect there to be change. There's going to be no change. And we're responsible, each one of us, to start creating that change, because we've carried this crap for too many generations. Too many generations. So, yeah, those would be my party words.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you feel like we're changing? Do you feel like there is change happening?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No, because, you know, I thought with COVID, it's been 6 months now. And I thought, you know, the people will start to understand stuff. Yes, let me rephrase that. Yes, I see people starting to get, some people starting to get it, but most people are oblivious. They're just doing what they were doing. And like, I think we discussed it in the last recording where we, you know, people are shopping online. Online sales have gone through the ceiling. No one's stopping, you know, these people are not stopping to think, but do I need all this stuff? I'm not going anywhere. I don't need all of this stuff. Look at my wardrobe, it's full. How much do I really need? So people need to start examining their behavior and their attitude, because it's unhealthy. If you've got enough money and more, give it to someone who needs it rather than keep shopping online.
Yeah.
So it's going to take time. Remember, like I said, we've got ingrained beliefs and generational impositions for centuries and decades. So unless someone consciously decides that they want to change and they start to take the steps and make those decisions as to how they need to change, what they need to change, why they need to change it, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, hopefully our conversations will, awaken some of these things in people and maybe get them thinking about, some of these things that we're talking about. Yeah. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I trust that.
Yeah. Okay. So let me not take any more of your time. Thank you so much for, all of that, all those powerful insights. And we will meet again soon.
For sure. For sure. Take care, Dama. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay, bye.